Is doing wrong for a good reason the right thing? What if we do a good thing, but go about it the wrong way? What are the rules, and who gets to make them? Why is it so hard to do the right thing?
When I think about doing the right thing, I always think of the film A Time to Kill. A man avenges his daughter's suffering by murdering the offenders. Was that the right thing? Why do people cheer when he's acquitted? I know people feel like justice has been served, but I also know the real right thing has no compromise. There is no second guessing required. You do not need to defend it. And here's the most important part. There's nothing in it for you. If the police want to solve all the murders on the books, all they have to do is offer $1 million reward. $1 million at stake, you're going to hand over the killer, even if it's your own son who did it. I'll tell you why. If you haven't already turned him in, you've proven you are morally corrupt. So the reward will work for a corrupt person. Taking $1 million is easy. The right thing is hard. Our own instincts fight against it. Let's say you see a murder, and let's say it's your best friend who did it. The right thing is to turn him in, but it's painful. You'd rather do the wrong thing. That's what your instincts are telling you. Now let's say you find the strength and you do it. You turn him in. People will immediately start looking for your motive. If they don't find one, if you don't have one, you're all good. But you'd already know that because the right thing would be in your heart. You basically wouldn't have a choice. That's what happens when you commit to God and He transforms you. He puts the right thing inside your heart, so you just know.
Another very tricky phrase, especially for the broken. Again, I'm gonna stay with him because it's the right thing to do. He's the father of my children. With a black eye, a broken nose, broken ribs, limping around on your way from the emergency room. I'm gonna lie because it's the right thing to do. I need to protect this situation, no matter how abusive, no matter how hard it is, no matter how much I know that it's not right for me. I'm gonna continue to do the right thing. Once again, you're finding yourself wanting to do the right thing, but you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. And so the right thing is never right. It's always wrong when you're broken and you're not sure of who you are and your identity and why you're here, what your purpose is, and who you were created to be. And so it's a very dangerous thing when you're not right. You can't do the right thing when you're not right. Let's put it that way. Let's get right first, and then let's do the right thing. How about that?
So how do we get it right? How do we know, and how do we do the right thing? Number 1, go back to the beginning of the wrong thing. Most of us don't have to think very long or very hard to remember the first time things felt wrong.
When I asked her about it, and when she told me, sometimes he does that, it put my heart into the pit of my feet. I just couldn't think after that. I didn't even know what to say to her, or how to react. It was so big for me. That was like, I don't understand how somebody could think that that was normal.
That feeling, something's wrong with me, led us to search for something that felt right.
Not sure how to really describe it, but I wasn't certain in what I believed. You know, I grew up in a Christian family, went to church regularly. I had these values instilled in me, but I had drifted away and started to make other choices. And then I really didn't know what I stood for.
Then it became very regular occurrence because I found it was a great escape. I didn't have to feel, I didn't have to think about anything. I could just kind of get lost in the moment. And so it became a regular habit, you know, on the weekends. And then, you know, by the time I'd say I was 15, I was regularly using on a daily basis, whether it was marijuana, drinking, you know, mushrooms and acid, and then on to coke and on to methamphetamine. And it was a very slippery slope and very, very fast. I just dove in head first with no reservations.
And they were being loyal in the sense of what's right and what's wrong in their minds. You know, the old, if you do something wrong, you should pay for your crime kind of thing, but they did wrong all the time. That's what it was like. It was like, I don't get why you're doing this. So just because I went a little above your wrong, you know, and now you're ratting me out, why don't I tell the cops about you guys?
So I pretty much had a good life up to adolescence, where I didn't really think anybody else but myself knew what the right thing to do was. I didn't see all the good things that I was afforded. So at that time, it was like oil and water. So I basically went back out to California with a friend of mine at 16, 17 years old and got into a drug business. Surfed and sold drugs. To me, that was it was an easy living, which turned out not to be so easy in the long run.
That wrong road was especially appealing when someone we looked up to was already traveling it.
My plan was to eventually come home. I wanted my dad's attention. I also wanted to know what was so great out there that he could leave his family. I want to know, what is so great about cocaine? What is so great about fast women? What is so great about the street life that you could leave your family? I wanted to know. So I always thought I chose it. I went looking for it. And so when I was approached by my trafficker, who was fun, had all kinds of friends and popularity, and I don't know, it was easy to just not go back home.
And when the people we depended on did us wrong, we ended up without a clue.
They took me right over there to my uncle's house, which was their father, took me over there, and my father's brother contacted him and told him that, you know, we got Gil over here, you know? He said, yeah, man, we got Gil over here. My father came to me, man, you know, and I was happy, you know, that he had came there, but he had alternative mission because him and my mom had separated. She was living in the city and stuff, you're saying, but she was hiding from him because of his abusive manners and stuff.
Number 2, identify your misconceptions. No matter how far down the wrong road we are, there's a part of us, always, that leans toward the light. We see this in the way we explain, justify, and excuse our choices. We want to do right, or at least to feel like we are.
Thought it was okay because I was trying to keep it away from them. I was they didn't see all these people around, all this mess going on. I was able to buy them toys. I was able to buy them clothes and diapers and food and cook for them and have these meals and have the house clean and go and do activities with them because I had all this energy and it was endless.
Until it wasn't?
Until it wasn't. And there was a lot of times that it wasn't.
So I was still smoking weed, getting high, doing a little bit of cocaine here and there. It just wasn't as often, as frequent.
When I was younger, I always judged myself by my intentions. And I could never understood when other people would not judge me in the same way. So when I got caught selling drugs, I said, well, I know that I was selling drugs because I wanted to take care of my daughter financially. And I could not do that with a $10 an hour job. So my intentions were to be a provider. So I couldn't understand, like, why are all these people acting like this is the worst thing in the world, right? Or when I started doing fraud, white collar fraud in Texas, I knew that I was only doing it because I didn't want to do sex work. And then I also said, you know what though, the banks will pay these people back. So I'm actually sticking it to the man. And this is the best kind of thing I could be doing to take care of myself because everyone's happy. The person gets their money back, I get money. The credit card companies, they're rip-offs anyways. So I would very much justify whatever I was doing, and I had a way to tell you why that was the right thing to do.
Number 3, know it will be hard. The right thing is rarely the easy thing. The easy thing is to go back to what we know, even though we know it's the wrong thing.
You gotta swallow your pride and work your way back up and earn your right back into society. It's just one of those things, but now the harder the decision it is to make, I know it's usually the right decision. It's something that I call doing the difficult right thing. Coming out, you look what you have and then you look what the next guy has. And you wonder, how are you going to make it to having these things, but doing the right thing to accumulate those things? It gets frustrating at times because as I do, I have very high expectations for myself. I've been accustomed for 10 years before prison to 15, 16, 18 years in prison to living at the highest level I could. And coming out and having nothing again, and trying to establish everything by doing the right thing, you see everybody that's so far ahead. Like, for instance, my brother's a steam fitter. He's 8 years younger than me. Makes $300-400 a day. And here I am working for a contractor my first month out making $120 a day. And I'm thinking, I'm so far behind in life. How am I ever going to get to this level at 45 years old? But, you take baby steps.
The right thing can be lonely. And our hearts ache for people still trapped and deceived by the wrong thing.
There's sadness when you have to say, I can't hang out with those people anymore that are smoking crack and lying and stealing and thieving. And I run into people all the time when I come back to Minneapolis to minister, and they'll come out to hear me speak, and they are doing the same thing. And that whole aura around them is so dark and heavy, and my stomach just gets into a ball. And I look at them, and my heart just cries out for them, cries out for the fact that they are still believing that that's who they are after all these years, that their lives have not been affected enough that they want to cry out to be something different.
Sometimes, even when we are committed to doing things right, the world may do us wrong.
A year ago, I lost my daughter to somebody shot and killed her. And I don't know, I was really hurt by it, and I still grieve every day. And in my past, I really would have went looking for somebody. But it was just by the grace of God that God comforted me through this time.
And once we are committed, we must know we will be tempted. So we must be ready to choose.
The day I came home, the head of the Cuban cartel was sitting in her living room with me, a brand new car and an invitation to go back to my old life. And, I had made up my mind. I said, I thank you for coming and wanting to, give me an opportunity to go back, but I choose God today, and I appreciate it if you just go back to where you came from. And the enemy was there and he was waiting to take me back to my old life. And it was a big choice for me. From that day, I got a job at a barber shop where I worked with 3 Christian men. And during that time, I would walk to work, I would walk to church, and just very determined to do what I needed to do.
Number 4, just do it. Do the right thing. Once we've uncovered past mistakes and exposed wrong ideas, the right thing is easier to see.
One of the counselors came to me and asked me to clerk his next class, and I was like, why would you ask me to clerk your class when you have all these other guys that are putting on the song and dance? And he said, because I kept it real, and I couldn't believe it that he would want my unfiltered thinking and mouth to come in and do his class with him. I did that, and somehow my life was kind of changed and touched, and now that I didn't have to go through this program and I was doing it as a clerk, I got so much more out of the program. Instead of when he was going through scripture and gospels and reading parables and all that stuff, I would listen instead of be like, oh, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm spending 18 months here without my TV and everything else. And a lot of those times I'm like, man, I think I'm in the right place. I'm right where I need to be right now.
Once we realize that having a wrong thought or making a wrong decision doesn't make us hopeless, the right thing is easier to choose.
I feel like that new piece for me was when I really came to understand that I'm not responsible for my thoughts. I'm responsible for my actions, and that I need to take every thought captive, including when I'm not feeling like I'm doing my best, or that maybe I make a mistake, and to not let those mistakes, I can stumble, but I don't have to fall. And even if I do fall, I just need to get right back up again. I'm not a victim of my circumstances anymore. I'm in control of my life, and I can choose to make good decisions or bad decisions. And that's something that I decide every day when I get out of bed in the morning.
And once we find a reason, the right thing is all we want to do. Do it for peace.
He wants my children to see, hey, mom's praying and she's believing in God, and God open these doors. This is what happened. Once I really got that it's not about me, and even just me taking care of my children, it's about what my children see. It's about what other people see. That, hey, I'm believing in this. I'm stepping forward with trust. God's got something for us, something better. He put this desire in my heart to have a home, to have this job, to be able to provide for my children, to have my boys, to be a good influence to them, and to show them, here's what my relationship with God is. And that's what it's really about, is for other people to see that. Obviously, I love that it's happening for me, but, I've always prayed, let me be a billboard for you, God. Let me and my boys be a billboard for you.
We can learn to see learn to choose, and learn to do the right thing.